Hello, good morning, or maybe good afternoon, depending on where you're listening from. On today's episode, I interview a fascial stretch specialist, a spiritual-based trauma healer, the co-owner and CEO of TK Stretching, a completion process practitioner, and creator of Kimmy's Kitchen, where she loves to make healthy food taste gourmet. Welcome to the Winner Circle, Kimberly Althauser-Lucas.
Hi, Derek. Thank you for letting me be a part of your amazing podcast.
Absolutely. It's been so great to see you. It's been a couple of years since I've last been down to Texas. And in that time, I've created these conversations since I've been kind of grounded here in Canada for the last couple of years. And the goal with these conversations is to really uplift, inspire, and empower all listening in, all tuning in, by sharing our guest hero's journey, something that we could all relate to. And it's a very positive conversation that we're in store for, and that the first question sets us up for such, and that is right here, right now. Kimberly, Kim, what do you love about your world right now?
What I love right now about the world is how everyone, okay, how do I say this? It may be uncomfortable, but it's actually a good thing. What I love about the world is that everyone's shadows are surfacing in order for healing to begin. And that's what I've noticed a lot within myself and the collective consciousness is that with the world right now, everything is surfacing and it's very uncomfortable, but it's a beautiful thing because we're transitioning into something higher within ourselves.
Amazing. And I'm excited to get more into these transformations taking place globally. And in addition to examining the shadow and trauma work. But before we begin, I kind of read your bio and you have many hats, many roles. And I feel one way we get to know our guests is by having a look at their mission here in this reality plane. And that mission oversees everything that we do, whether that be Kimmy's Kitchen, TK Stretching, your personal life, and everywhere in between. So what is your current mission, Kim?
My current mission is so what we say in TK Stretching is our motto is to stretch your lifespan, but we do it much more physically. My mission is to stretch your lifespan on a spiritual level. I feel like it's not shared enough within the world. Yes, we're all facing like this pain, this physical pain, and we're looking at it on a surface level, and we're not looking at it on a deeper level. And usually physical pain, there's something tied to it. It's always something emotional. And so my mission is to share that awareness that physical pain is much more than physical. It's there's something deeper tied to it. So it's stretching your lifespan physically and spiritually is my mission I want to share across.
That's super fascinating. So can you share with us how you're currently doing that, the different ways in which you're giving and sharing your medicine?
Yeah, so it started with fascial stretch therapy, where we go in, we stretch the fascia tissue. Our fascia tissue is what intertwines, combines everything throughout the muscles, the joints, the tendons, the organs. It's like our big old connective tissue. It's our big old spider web. And when I started doing fascial stretch therapy, I noticed people would be coming back in for the same symptoms. They would feel better, but there was still something hanging on. And that's when I started going a little bit deeper, that there's emotions stored in our tissue in our body. And it's like our subconscious doesn't know the difference between time. So what happened to us when we're younger that was never healed can still be stored in our body, which is creating the physical limits, the pain, the tension. And so that's what really brought me to go a little bit deeper into the body and healing, is that there's emotions, there's trauma that's trapped in the body that needs to be released. And it's insane, Derek. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited to get more into this, and maybe one way we could examine this is by examining your origin story on how you learned about this yourself and what that process of healing via your fascia looked for you. And then maybe an example of something that happened with the clients so that we could really visualize for people not familiar with fascial stress therapy, like how
Perfect.
exactly this works. Yeah. So let's start with your story.
So fascial stretch therapy kind of just fell into my lap because I was a personal trainer for almost 10 years out in Arizona. And I noticed my clients were always just so tight all the time. And the school for fascial stretch therapy is called Stretch to Win. It happens to be in Arizona. And someone mentioned it to me, and I was like, I was interested in it. So I decided to go take the course, and I fell in love with it. And it's such a simple, like beautiful technique where it can really help people get out of pain, and they have more blood flow, more circulation, more range of motion. It helps their sleep. And so I started combining fascial stretch therapy with my personal training, and I noticed a huge difference within my clientele. And then, long story short, met my husband. I needed help in my business, and he loved the stretching, fascial stretch therapy. So he came on board with me. And then we decided to make a leap of faith. We moved to Austin, transferred our whole business to Austin. And our goal was to do fascial stretch therapy full time. And we knew we'd be able to do it in Austin because the community is such a huge health conscious community. And when I started fascial stretch therapy, again, the spiritual work kind of just fell into my lap. I get this gut feeling that I need to go take it. And one of my mentors who taught me fascial stretch therapy, he's like, you need to go take this course called the Walla Method. And didn't know anything about it, but I had this gut feeling like I needed to go take it. Just this inner voice kept telling me, go take it, go take it. I had no idea what I was getting into. Didn't even know it was spiritual or not. And so I go and take the course, and I was just blown away. People who've been in pain for years, completely gone, like within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I started like, oh, there's so much more than just this physical body. There's so much more to it. And we're putting like a limit to it. And it's something very deep spiritually. And so I started working on myself, and because I had all these health issues, stomach issues, thyroid issues, acne, and I've done everything try to heal it. And that's why I became a personal trainer. I was a holistic health coach and all that, but nothing would heal what was happening internally inside of me until I started addressing the trapped emotions I had within my own trauma as a child. And I noticed like I don't experience any of that pain anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
like I used to have a lot of neck issues, sore throats, colds. And since doing the spiritual work and releasing the emotions, knock on wood, but I haven't been sick in 4 years.
Wow, that's incredible. So how did you do this with the Voilà method? Could you explain kind of what that is, the Voilà method?
Yep. The Walla Method is a tool for us to communicate to the body. The body knows how to heal itself. We just have to talk to it. And how we talk to it is through muscle testing. It's not how normal muscle testing goes. It's like with a chiropractor or an acupuncturist, someone may have experienced where they push on your arm and your arm is either strong or weak. Instead, when we do the muscle testing, it's off body muscle testing, and we do it with our hands. And that's a way for us to communicate to the body and figure out where is it coming from. So it pretty much with the muscle testing and communicating to the body, it takes the guesswork out. Like we don't have to guess. The body is going to tell us. The body will tell us if it's coming from something physical versus coming something from emotional. And it gets very specific. It'll tell us how old you were, what emotion it is, where is it trapped in your body. So Voilà is just an awesome tool to get to the root of it.
Mm-hmm. So can you share a success story of how you use the Walla method combined with the stretch to win knowledge about the fascia to really help a client, like a really good success story?
Yeah, great question. I'll use my husband, for example. I was working on him, I was stretching him, and his left hip couldn't abduct all the way out, like it couldn't go out all the way. And as I was stretching, I could feel intuitively like his fascia tissue was stuck, like it wouldn't want to go. And then so I ran my Voilà protocol, and it happened to be something structural. His cranials needed to be balanced. It wasn't anything emotional right there at that time, but his cranials need to be balanced. So I just went in, talked to his body, his cranials, told me where they need to be shifted, balance his cranials. I go back to that same stretch and his leg completely open. And the crazy thing is though, prior to that stretch, for a couple weeks, he hasn't been able to run because he had this horrible calf pain. So he's a huge runner and he hasn't been able to run. Just by making that simple cranial correction, next day he ended up running 4 miles with no pain.
Wow, it's incredible. And you work with such a wide variety of clients, from just like your typical 9 to 5 office worker to
Right.
professional athletes,
Mhm.
entertainers, which is so amazing. So let's talk about the commonality you see amongst all these people, in terms of your work with them. What is the commonality you see amongst all your clients?
The common is when it comes to men, what I noticed with the men is that they hold all a lot of them come in for lower back pain, low back pain, low back stiffness. Um, that's the very common with the men is low back. And that's majority of the time it's something spiritual, but also doing the fascia tissue, stretching it helps alleviate the pain. Majority of the time with the back pain, they're not feeling supported. And so their back is mimicking that. Um,
Hmm.
when it comes to the women, very common within the women is they hold all their tension within their neck and their shoulders. And so um, what I notice with the women is that they're either afraid to speak their truth or they're afraid to express themselves or they're
Hmm.
carrying everyone's responsibilities on their shoulders
Yeah.
or like carrying the world on their shoulders. So it's like
Oh, yeah.
that's where the tension is. And so that's what I've noticed within our clientele is very common. Women, neck and shoulders, men, hips and low back.
Mhm, mhm. And once you've identified the issues that are kind of, barriers for them for their optimal health, what's the process look like to heal this? Like, is it a one session type thing? Is it, like how regularly? Like, what does the healing process look like for these individuals? How often long do you work with your clients?
Yeah, it just depends on the client. I mean, like our athletes and our business entrepreneurs, the ones that are on a desk all day, we see them like weekly for stretching. It just helps open up everything, just get everything flowing. So, but more on the spiritual side, typically I only see those clients probably like every 2 to 4 weeks,
Mhm,
because they don't need to see me that often if they come in
mhm.
wanting to address more of the emotions and stuff like that. But fascial stretch therapy, we see people weekly to every 2 weeks.
Okay. Spirituality has come up a lot in this conversation, and so I'd like to take a moment just to examine what spirituality means to you, and when did that come into your life?
Spirituality, it really means is to me is really getting connected with yourself, your inner self. And when I started my spiritual journey when I was 23, I had a best friend who passed away. And that's when I hit like a really dark spot in my life. And it's a grief I've never experienced before, a depression I've never experienced before. And when she passed away, I started noticing just lights coming on, like randomly lights would come on, the TV would come on. And that's when I started noticing there's something more out there than what we can physically see. Right. And
Hmm.
so that's really started opening me up spiritually. And I feel like she was just getting my attention, letting me know there's something more out here. And my mind was just so closed off because I had just so much anger as a child from my own trauma. And I feel like she when she passed, she's really opened up that container for me. And that's when I started my spiritual journey and trying to heal myself because I had all these health issues. And I did everything like holistically, went to doctors, hormone therapy, you name it, nothing would work until I started the spiritual journey and healing my inner wounds. And it's been a complete difference.
And what were your foundational tools to help heal yourself spiritually that you continue, and then the ones that you continue to use currently?
Yeah, what helped me a lot is also at the beginning was breathing, Wim Hof breathing. I have a very good
Hmm.
friend who I met who's a teacher who teaches Wim Hof, and um, that's what really helped catapult me into that more spiritual and getting reconnected with my inner self is through breathing. Also, fascial stretch therapy, stretching is such a great tool. It gets us back into our body, and a lot of us are just out here so disconnected, and that's what I love about the stretching. It's just, it gets people grounded and centered. So anytime I feel off, I'll do stretching or my husband will stretch me. And just the simple practices I do is I get outside, get out of my mind and get outside.
Hmm.
The sunshine, nature, that's my kind of meditation is walking, working out, all of those things.
Hmm. And what are your other self-care tools
Mhm.
aside from the ones you mentioned, aside from the spiritual ones? What are some really important self-care tools that you use other than the
Um,
stretching, the walking outside, the getting in sunlight? What are some other foundational self-care just in the broad sense?
Great question is going to bed on time. I feel sleeping is so, so important. And I always make my sleep a huge priority. And going to bed on time, I'm such an early bird. I wake up early and I spend that first hour writing. It sets the tone for the whole day, whether I'm just channeling, writing, just flowing, whatever comes through, just write. And I feel like that just also just centers me. Um, Also, it's just eating just balanced meals, just healthy, vibrant meals. That's also one of my things I do for myself is to keep my energy going is what foods am I sticking in my body? Because they also have
Hmm.
an energy to them as well, right?
Hmm.
Um, what else? Oh, and my two dogs. My two dogs have been a great help of keeping me just centered in the present moment. Um, that's been a huge tool. It's just my dogs have just gave me a different perspective on life. It's just like all that
Hmm.
matters is here right now.
Absolutely. So your passion for food has led you to Kimmy's Kitchen, where you share amazing gourmet recipes on tkstretching.com's website. Talk to me more about Kimmy's Kitchen and what does healthy nutrition look like to you?
Healthy nutrition look what it looks like to me is this what are the intentions behind the food? Right? I feel it's a lot with intentions. If it's just thrown together, all these chemicals, sugars, you're putting that into your body and that's not fulfilling your body. So I always like to know what is the intentions behind the food? Is it through love, patience, like creating it? And so as I was going through my own spiritual journey and I just noticed there's just so much stuff in food, like a lot of sugar, a lot of oils, a lot of just unnecessary stuff that we don't need. And so I started getting creative of how to make healthy food. taste gourmet, and I love doing it with desserts. So, I just find it's just a little hobby I do, and I love, just making healthy food taste good, and I just find simple ingredients, um, to do that. So I just find it's just a fun passion for me, fun little side hobby that I love to do.
Mhm, mhm. So what does your diet typically look like for you? Like, what are the foods that you generally eat, and what are the ones that you avoid?
My typical diet is, I eat a lot of fruit. I love fruit. I feel like it's just fruit has just so much life to it. And I do eat meat, but it's very clean meat. It's like hormone free, antibiotic free, organic. That usually fuels me. Uh, But what I avoid mostly is like refined sugar, dairy. Dairy doesn't settle with me. It just leaves me with a lot of mucus. I'll have gluten here and there, but not all the time. Like a normal also diet is like a lot of healthy vegetables, sweet potatoes, whole grains, eggs, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, delicious. Before this conversation, like this the recording of our podcast, we talked about another training that you did, and that is as a completion process practitioner. What is that? Can you share with us?
The completion process is one of my favorite methods that one of the favorite courses that I've taken. It's taught by Teal Swan, and she's huge into the spiritual world, and she's a spiritual teacher. And the completion process is about bringing pieces of you back home. And what I mean by that is when we go through trauma, there's pieces. It's called like fractured aspects of us. That's what we call it, is like fractured aspects of us. They break
Hmm.
off of us. And so what's a lot of about is just bringing those pieces of you back home. And so it's all huge trauma healing. It is awesome. And it's what I love about it the most is that it gets people to feel again. We've been very disconnected to feel. We suppressed our feelings, our emotions. No, we can't feel that. It's bad. Or disassociate from it. And so completion process is such a cool tool to learn that it's okay to feel. And once we start
Hmm.
feeling, it starts surfacing the root of it. Because
Hmm.
feeling is like it's how the soul communicates to us. It's like a language. It's through feeling.
Hmm.
And so it just
Yeah.
teaches people how to feel again.
Hmm. And feeling good for me is a priority.
Correct.
How
Yeah.
how do you feel good? What are the methods you use to feel good yourself to really live by this principle?
What makes me feel good is making sure like I take care of myself, my body, like I honor her. What does she need? And what makes me feel good is like eating balanced meals. Sleep is huge. Getting enough water throughout the day. Water is very important. And also, like, pay attention to what you watch because I had to eliminate like TV, a lot on social media, just things that didn't make me feel good, that didn't like resonate with me. I had to cut that out. And
Hmm.
so um that plays huge, I feel, is what you watch and what you listen to. And so if something doesn't make you feel good, get rid of it. Don't watch it or don't listen to it or
Hmm.
don't read it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
helped me a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. A barrier to us feeling good is the traumas that we've accumulated in our lifetimes and that we often hold. And you attend to that physical trauma, a healing with your stretch to win,
Yeah.
the emotional with the Voilà, the spiritual with the completion process practitioner. Um, but one cannot heal their trauma if they're not aware of it. Awareness is the key to creating any sort of change. How can we bring awareness to the various traumas we're holding on to, whether that be physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental?
It's a great question, Derek. Is I feel like The first thing is knowing what triggers you. Normally, it's like if we get triggered or defensive, that's usually there's something that needs to be healed within yourself, or we have blaming somebody else for that. It triggers what gets underneath your skin. Stay curious with it because it's telling you something deeper within yourself that needs to be healed. And so that would be a great awareness to start with, is just having the awareness of what is getting underneath your skin, what's bugging you. Because it usually goes something deeper. It's not specifically that person, it's something deeper within yourself that needed to be healed, that wasn't healed as a child. So is knowing those feelings when you react, just stay curious with it. Why are you reacting that way?
Mhm.
It's always a trauma response.
Mhm. No, that's a great answer. So you've learned all these amazing things through various mentors and helpers you've met along the path, along your journey. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some of these influential people right here and right
Mhm.
now. So just just look back on all the people that have helped you on your way, and who were these people? And I'm sure there are many, so you don't need to name them all, but who were some of
Mhm.
these people? And what were their primary lessons that they've taught you and that you've embodied into your being?
Mm. Gosh, there's so many. Well, the first one is God to me. If it wasn't for God, like I wouldn't have met all these beautiful people who've helped guide me, and opening myself up to wherever you want to call it, God, universe, source, um, is the biggest mentor because that's what led me to these beautiful people in my life to help guide me so then I can help guide others. Um, but some of the individuals, those people, first is my husband. He's been such a huge blessing to me, and he's like my anchor. I'm out here in space sometimes doing this spiritual stuff, and he's my anchor. He keeps me grounded. And if it wasn't for him, oh my gosh, I don't think I would be where I'm at today. We wouldn't be in Austin if it wasn't for him. And so he is first my biggest mentor. Also is my twin sister. My twin sister, she's also my rock. She's Her and I can relate so much, and I have someone to we just feed off each other. Especially her and I are going to this journey together. She does the same thing as me, but she's in Arizona. So it's cool how we mirror each other. And we have each other to just talk within life. So twin
Mhm.
sister has been amazing. And also some other people is like Chris, who taught me the Wim Hof breathing. He is such a huge blessing when I first started this spiritual journey. He just held space for me. He held space for me and believed in me, and so he's been amazing. Some other beautiful people in my life has been like Dr. Taylor, who held space for me as I was a personal trainer. He believed in me. Also, like, John Wolf, Shane Hines from On It, they are Aaron Guyette, him, those people who believed in our fascial stretch therapy and got us to Austin. If it wasn't for them, like, we also wouldn't be where we are today. And some of our beautiful clients like The Undertaker, Mark Calloway and his wife, Michelle Calloway. They have been with us from the beginning since we first moved here. And we were so new to Austin and didn't have really much clients. They've been with us for 4 years while in Austin, and they continue
Mhm.
to work with us. And so they've been amazing mentors to us as well. And of course, Teal Swan, as I get into more of the spiritual work.
Yeah, this is incredible. Um, Another ally that you've had on your way is your intuition. Talk to us about listening to one's intuition.
Gosh, intuition is so, so important. I've been lucky is like I've been blessed to have this strong, we all have it. We all have a strong connection with intuition. It's just when we're little, it gets pushed down, not talked about. But ever since I was young, I've always had this strong gut feeling and I can't explain it. It's just like this inner knowing. We all have it. We all have that inner voice in us. And it's a way for universe, our higher selves to communicate to us. And I just get messages throughout my life that I need to do something. And there's part of me that's it's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. But I know intuitively, like I need to do it. And it's like, for example, when I first started straight out of high school, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I went to a university for the first semester and I was like, this is nothing what I want to do. And I just had this gut feeling like, look at other things. There's a faster way to get to be an entrepreneur. And so I was just looking online and I came across this school called National Personal Training Institute, become a personal trainer in 6 months. And I was like, you know what? I just had this gut feeling, Derek, like this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I called my mom and my stepdad, like, this is what I'm going to do. And they're like, at first they didn't, I don't think they were too positive about it. They're like, Kimberly, you always said you want to, be an entrepreneur, make good money. I don't think personal training is going to do that for you. And I just felt like, you know what? My gut is telling me I'm going to go for it. So that kind of lit a fire in me. I'm like, okay, watch me. So I dropped out, became a personal trainer, and I just completely succeeded in Arizona, like had my own business at the age of 22. And then like I had another gut feeling of that we needed to move to Austin, leave my whole business I built from the ground bottom, I had all this clientele, but I had that knocking on the door again, like, it's time, Kimberly, time for change. And so I just trusted my gut and we left and we came to Austin, and it's very uncomfortable. The intuition, it's very uncomfortable to the ego because it's unknown, it's foreign. And the great, like what I'd like to share with people is to know what's your intuition is knowing what's going to serve your highest good. So a great question to ask yourself is it going to serve my highest good to ... The very first thing you feel is your intuition. And then the ego will like to creep up and make you second guess yourself.
Along this process, fear undoubtedly comes up, and I'm sure it has come up for you in many ways. But for many listening, they feel that inner calling that tells them to drop out of university, to pursue that personal training, or to pursue that yoga training, or pursue becoming an artist, or whatever that may be. Or they're feeling that calling to move. They're feeling that calling to become an entrepreneur, but fear holds them in place. They're stuck at that road, that crossroad of should and must, and they're stuck. They're stuck by the shoulds from family, society, culture, religion, and that must often dies within. How did you use fear as an ally on your journey, and how do you advise a fellow hero at that crossroads where they're feeling stuck? How can they move forward?
What's helped me is having the awareness that I could, if I go for it, and if it doesn't plan out, doesn't work out, I can always come back. We can always come back. So for example, like leaving the university and wanting to go do personal training, if it didn't work out, I could always go back to that university. And same thing, like when I met my husband, he was out in Portugal playing basketball. I was out in Arizona doing my own personal training. And like, there was this fear of like him moving to Arizona, like this could go completely south, right? Someone like, we've only been able to talk through Skype and all of that. But I was like, you know what? If it doesn't work out, he can always go back to Portugal, right? So I always have this feeling, if there's fear, but you want to do something, but there's fear there, just know you can always come back to where you're at. You can always come back to where you're at. So in the worst case scenario, like go for it. If it doesn't work, great. Come back home.
Hmm.
So that's how like I
Absolutely.
keep my mindset with it.
Amazing. Another thing I want to examine is your relationship with him. It's very interesting to be in a business with your husband. And for some people, I'm sure that could be a really hard thing. So, what are the keys to your relationship with him, both as like a husband, but also as a business partner? And how do you kind of um, bring those two? Those are two different worlds. How do you bring that together and make that work in cohesion?
Gosh, that's why I was really hesitant. Like what I was saying too is like this could go really south because he wanted to join me in business.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, why not? You know, and but it was such a huge blessing. And him and I feel like him and I work really well together because I grew up with a twin and I've always had her, like her and I've just always had each other. And so I've learned to work with someone. And when he came into the picture, kind of is like that same kind of feeling. But what we do is the biggest thing with him and I is we honor each other. Like we are still our own individuals. So I honor his path, he honors my path, and we've blended it so well that it's a mutual respect. Like it's such a huge honor um, with each other. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
coming together into business, honestly, Derek, I tell you what, this is a universal thing because prior to meeting him, I just prayed out loud. And I was like, you know what? I'm no longer picking the men in my life. Obviously, I cannot pick the right men. So, God, I'm leaving this to you.
Hmm.
I'm no longer taking control. And once I said that, a week later, he ends up writing me. And I think it's just our chemistry. It's a universal, I can't even explain, it's a universal thing between us. It's just how we work together. It's unlike anything else. I can't explain it.
Hmm. So, what has Tim taught you about love? What does love mean to you?
Oh, it's so good. Yes. Um, he's such a huge man of an integrity. And that's one of my traumas, my core wounds I needed to heal is feeling safe to feel love from a male. And because I didn't
Hmm.
feel safe at all. And he's been such a great partner to teach me that what real love is. My As a child, I saw what conditional love is. And so that's what I thought love was, right? He
Yeah.
has taught me what unconditional love is, like the truth of what love is. And that's just by completely just, he honors me for me, allows me to be me, doesn't judge me, doesn't try to control me. If I want to go do something like I'm passionate about, he supports me. It's huge with support. He's always holding space. And I feel like that's that's such a huge thing and so important in a relationship is to support that person, whatever they want to go do or believe in or they're passionate about, is hugely with support and believing in them.
Hmm.
So
Amazing. So,
he's been great for that.
yeah, absolutely beautiful. I'd like to thank you for all the wisdom you shared so far in this conversation. And this brings us to the next question. And that is through all the highs and lows that is this life journey, what do you feel has been your greatest life lesson learned so far that you feel called to share with us? Um,
Oh gosh. Okay, this is good. Okay, the biggest life lesson, especially with everything that I've done in my life, and is don't lose yourself. I feel like society does a good job of trying to like, you need to become this person, you need to do this, you need this degree, you need to look like this in order to be this person. Da, 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 da. We lose ourselves. We lose ourselves. And that's when I started noticing within myself is when I was in the fitness industry, being a personal trainer, doing fitness competitions, it's like I started noticing I'm losing myself. I'm losing myself. So that's why I stepped out of personal training. It wasn't me. And so the biggest thing takeaway that I've learned throughout my life as I'm in my early 30s is don't lose yourself. Even if society tells you who you need to be, you know who you are. It's within you. And it's learning to know that you're safe to express exactly who you are. The world needs it more than ever. And like what I share with people is like, if we want to change the world, we first need to change the world within ourselves, because what we feel internally will reflect externally. Everything's a mirror, everything's a reflection. So the more we are ourselves, which is love, the more it's going to reflect. And so that's my biggest takeaway with everything I've learned so far in my life.
Yeah, thank you. That is such a beautiful reminder. To close every episode, I ask every guest the following 2 questions, and we've come to that point. The first question, in 3 words, how would you describe the experience you are having on this earth? And that could be 3 separate words, and why those words mean something to you. So in 3 words, how would you describe the experience you're having on this earth?
Oh gosh, this is good. First is laughter. That's been a huge experience in my life so far. Well, at least in this lifetime, is laughter. My sister and we're always trying to find ways to make ourselves laugh. It's just something that we love, is laughter. And that's been one of my favorite experiences throughout life, is looking at things through a different perspective and finding the fun in it. It's finding the joy in it. And so that's one of the words I would love that I've learned is don't lose your laughter. Don't lose your joy.
Yeah.
The next one is curiosity, which also goes along with imagination. Is curiosity is don't lose your curiosity. Always stay curious. Like be that little kid, is like, just stay curious with it. I feel like once we stop being curious, we put ourselves in a box. We've limited ourselves. So curiosity is huge. I'm always curious. The third word, my life experience, it's gratitude. Gratitude. I feel like it's a huge blessing for each individual person to be here, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like that. And life may be hard, and we may have suffering in our life and grief in our life, but at the same time, it's a huge, huge, huge miracle and blessing to be here, because we are here to also, we're here with everyone. We're here to guide each other together as a family. And yeah, that one kind of leaves me speechless, but yeah, gratitude, blessing to be here.
Beautiful. Laughter, curiosity, and gratitude. Oh, what an experience that you're living. This last question, we've spent a lot of time examining the past and your origin stories to all these wonderful things you do. And now I'm going to play with time, because I truly believe we're all magicians within. And I'm going to bring us to the future. I'm going to fast forward us to the future, and we're going to be alongside an 85-year-old Kimberly Althauser-Lucas. Who is this 85-year-old woman? Where is she? Who are you surrounded by? What is the legacy that you left here in your time on this planet?
Gosh, you have good questions, Darren. What I see as my 80-year-old self and feel with her is just accomplishment. She came here to do work and to help humanity in some kind of way, right? And I feel like she feels accomplished, and I feel books. She did it through books. She did it through speaking. She did it through one-on-one teaching. Just like a proud moment for my 80-year-old self, like, yes, I did it. I did it, what I came here to do, and is to shine light upon people, knowing that they're a part of the light as well. And is it's funny, as I tap into that, Derek, is she doesn't, my future self, she doesn't want to spoil any surprises. All she's giving me is like, okay, you're going to do it with your books. You're going to do it through what you're doing now. There's going to be other things along your journey teaching. But it's just the best feeling. The phrase that I get is accomplished. Like, I accomplished what I came here to do.
I can see this. And I want you just to feel into this 85-year-old Kimberly for a moment longer. Feel her in your being here and now, because that's where I'm going to bring us back to. I'm going to bring us back to the present, the infinite now. And that 85-year-old, she's still with you. She whispers something in your ear. What does she share with you?
That's so funny. Well, first, what she shares with me, she's like, Kimberly, don't forget, time is an illusion. It's all happening right now.
Yeah.
And what she says with that, she's saying it's infinite. Go create. It's infinite. And she's saying the number one thing is don't stop believing in yourself.
Wow. What a blessing. What a gift that she shared with you and with us all. Because I believe that's some universal wisdom that we could all use and apply into our infinite now.
Thank you, Derek. Gosh, that's good. I like that.
So for everyone listening along, they can connect with you on yours and Tim's website, tkstretching.com. On Instagram, you're Kimmy _Althauser-Lucas, or at TK Stretching. If they're in Austin, Texas, and wanting to practice you in person, can you let everyone know where they can find you?
Yep, they can find us at Kuya. It's right next to the Onnit Gym within Southeast Austin. Kuya is a beautiful facility. They can find us there. Also, at our home location on Pearl, Montana. Also a beautiful facility. I'm there part-time. It's called Alive and Well out in Bee Cave.
Okay. And if they're not in Austin, can people still work with you guys, and how so?
Yeah, if you don't live in Austin, and if you're interested in the fascial stretch therapy, we can refer you to a directory where you can find a fascial stretch therapist in your area. They're all over, which is awesome. But if you're interested in the spiritual work, I also do that virtual, and it works just as well virtual.
Amazing. Well, it's been a real blessing to catch up with you and to share all this wisdom and gold that you've blessed us with. To close every conversation, we bring our fists together in unity, to feeling good.
Yes, I love that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Kimberly.
Derek. Thank you. Very grateful for you.
Grateful for you as well. Thank you.